welcome back to MANCINIMA. I hope you've all had a lovely weekend. We've got two movies for you this week, which we'll get into in a moment. But if you could do the usual routine for me, please. I say at the beginning of every video, it really does help. If you could like this video for me, that would be absolutely fantastic. If you could subscribe to the channel, that would be even better. And if you can hit the notification bell, you'll know when I've done another one of these videos. Right, let's get into the movies of this week. A double bill, two completely different films. And let's see what we've got ahead for you. So we start this week, first of all, with The Fabelmans, which is Steven Spielberg's latest movie, and it's a semi-autobiographical movie, so that's a very long word, it's semi-autobiographical, almost didn't say that. And it's very loosely based on his own early career as a filmmaker. Now we start with Sammy Fabelman. He's based on the young Spielberg, and his parents take him to see Cecil B. DeMille's 1952 classic, The Greatest Show on Earth, at the cinema. It's his very first cinema experience, and he's a little bit scared about going in, what the cinema's going to show him. He's been told there's big people on the screen, and he doesn't understand it. What that means is that the images are big on the screen, so the parents have to calm him down. So it's all a little bit traumatising before he goes in. And he goes in and sees this movie, and he loves the movie, and it's a sense of wonder. You can see that with the light shining off his face and the wideness of his eyes. But there's a scene in the movie where there's a train crash, and this traumatises young Sammy, and he comes out of the cinema and he can't quite get to grips with it. He can't kind of get over it, if you like. So for one Christmas, he asks his parents for a Christmas present. They say, well, what would you like? And they buy him a train set. So he gets this train set, and he's recreating the crash. And he's basically destroying these trains every time he crashes the trains together. So his mother says to him one day, she says, well look, rather than destroying the trains over and over again and costing a lot of money, why don't you film it and then you can replay it and you can look at it that way and try to cope with it that way, which is what he does. And of course this leads into a fascination with filmmaking with young Sammy, and he moves on from the train set crash. He kind of gets over that very quickly, and he starts to use his family and his friends, and he recreates little stories in his backyard, which grows into these bigger stories as he gets older, with like war-torn scenes and things like that, with his friends playing soldiers. So yeah, it's his path to becoming a filmmaker, and that's what we get from the very beginning of The Fabelmans. However, all is not plain sailing at home. His mother, Mitzi, played by Michelle Williams, is having an affair with her husband's best friend, Benny, and he's played by Seth Rogen. And the husband himself, played by Paul Dano, is moving the family from their home in New Jersey out to Arizona because that's where his new work is, that's where his job is. So of course there's all this upheaval going on in and around Sammy that Sammy has to cope with. The Fabelmans is essentially a story about growing up. It's about finding love, finding what you love to do in life while your whole family life changes around you and how you cope with that. So it's a rites of passage story, really. We see Sammy from a young boy growing up into a teenager, and then how he copes with the world after that. There are some fantastic performances from Gabriel LaBelle as young Sammy, obviously like the young Spielberg alike, and in moments he really does look like a young Steven Spielberg. And of course, an amazing performance by Michelle Williams as his mother, Mitzi. The film is beautifully shot, and it's a true love letter to the love of filmmaking. It's 2 hours and 31 minutes long, which is pretty long. And it does flag in places, but otherwise it just moves along at a brisk pace, and it's fairly enjoyable in that sense. The one thing I will say is that when we kind of reach the end of the story, I'm not going to spoil what the end of the story is for you, but I did feel that it kind of ended rather abruptly. I thought there were a few loose ends that could have been tied up, or a hint of what may come for those members of the family at the end of the film. But it just kind of reaches this point with Sammy, and it kind of ends, and that's it, and then the credits start going up. So I thought that was a little bit disappointing. I was kind of hoping for a little bit of breathing space at the end of the film, but it just kind of ends abruptly. And yeah, so I thought that they could have told you what was going on with the other characters, especially his mother and his sisters and things like that. However, The Fabelmans is a very, very enjoyable film. Spectacular to look at on the big screen. I do recommend you go and see it at the cinema while you can. It's very worthwhile, especially if you're a lover of filmmaking and a lover of Spielberg. The one thing I will say is that it kind of leans towards what I call modern era Spielberg. To me, there's kind of two Spielbergs. There's the one that led up to Jurassic Park, and then the one that went from Schindler's List onwards, which was the much more serious filmmaker. And there's a moment in this film where you see him, or see Sammy if you like, filming with his family and his friends, and he's having such a good time recreating all these old scenes, and you kind of get the hint that Spielberg misses those days and misses the fun of the Spielberg that he used to be. And let's face it, we haven't really got a filmmaker like him. J.J. Abrams isn't really the same kind of person that Spielberg was when he was younger. When Spielberg was making films like Jaws and Raiders of the Lost Ark and Jurassic Park itself. So I kind of miss that. You know, this is the modern era Spielberg that we've got now, which is still, you know, an absolutely fantastic filmmaker, and this film deserves any awards and every award that it's going to get. But we do miss classic Spielberg, and I hope that one day he can just kind of put the serious stuff to one side and go, you know what, let's go back and make a great rip-roaring action-adventure movies like I used to make back in the day. That is the Spielberg I would love to see again. However, as I said before, go and see The Fabelmans at the cinema. It's a very good film, fantastic performances, looks beautiful, and if you love film and filmmaking, you'll be in your element. Okay, and on to our next film, which is something very different. This movie is Plane, and the movie stars Gerard Butler. I wasn't really expecting much from this movie, I must admit. When I saw it trailed at the cinema, I thought, oh, here we go, another Gerard Butler kind of actioner. One of those drop your brain at the door, just go in and let it wash over you kind of movies. You know, that he's done The London Has Fallen, those kind of movies where there's not a lot of investment needed, to be honest, is there? However, I was pleasantly surprised. I really did enjoy Plane. I was really kind of on the edge of my seat in some moments. Gerard Butler plays Brody, Brody Torrance, you know, action hero name, and he's sent to fly off one night. I think it's New Year's Eve. He's due to fly out on New Year's Eve, and his instructors, if you like, I don't know, they like kind of air control, they instruct him to fly through a storm because it's the quickest way to get to where he's going. I can't remember exactly where he's going. But they instruct him to fly through this heavy storm, and he's kind of worrying about it. Oh, should I do this? Should I do this? However, he does what he's told, flies through the storm, and the plane gets hit by lightning, which destroys all of their navigational and all their electrical equipment, throws the plane into chaos, people are injured, and Brody finds that he has to make a crash landing anywhere he can, basically. With no navigational equipment, he's flying blind. He finds this island, finds a road, which is kind of good enough to land the plane on, and that's what he does. He brings the plane down successfully, saving all of the passengers, and they land on this island. What they don't know is that this island is occupied by these really vicious, drug-dealing, human trafficking mercenaries. So these mercenaries come along and they steal all the iPads, all the phones, all the money, everything they can get their hands on off the plane, and they also take the passengers away with a view to what I assume is human trafficking. It's never really made clear in the film, but that's the kind of hint that you get. They're going to be human trafficked off the island. So Brody's against the clock trying to kind of get his passengers back. Now, the reason Brody isn't with them when they get kidnapped is because he went off to see if he could find some other way off the island. And of course, when he comes back, that's when he finds out that they've been kidnapped. He takes with him this prisoner who's been transported on the plane. He's an FBI wanted accused murderer, so we don't actually know whether this guy did it or not. And he's played by Mike Coulter, who you may remember as Luke Cage in the Marvel TV series. And he plays a character called Louis Gaspard. And of course he's been accused of this murder by the FBI, and we don't really know whether he did it or not, and I think that could have helped. We could have had a little bit of character development there, and there isn't a great deal of character development in this film. You kind of get to know Brody, you know he's got a daughter that he's racing home to see, and he wants to get home to see her, and the passengers have got family they want to go home to see. But yeah, I think the Mike Coulter character could have done with a little bit more development. You could have had a bit of a hint whether he was actually guilty or not. And I think that would have helped matters out, because he does actually help Brody out without any question. And he seems like a good guy, so they may have, you know, thrown that as a bit of character development would have helped a great deal. However, so there's lots of brilliant action scenes and there's lots of gunfire, lots of fighting, and I really enjoyed it. It's one of those movies where you just go and you don't expect too much. Sit down, enjoy it. There's some, like I say, great action scenes in the plane itself. I thought that was very well shot. The landing on the islands was very well shot. The mercenaries are good. There's a lot of risk, lots of edge of your seat moments, and yeah, I really did enjoy it. I would highly recommend seeing Plane at the cinema. It's one of those films that, you know, if you've had a tough day and you just want to sit back and chill and relax in the cinema and watch this movie, this is just the movie for you. Plane is at cinemas now. It opened on Friday. Go and see it at the cinema, because I think it deserves the big screen kind of experience. So if you're going to watch it at home on your TV, it's not going to be the same. So there you have it. That's 2 reviews for this week. We've got The Fabelmans and Plane. As I said before, Plane, I don't know how long it's going to be at the cinema. It is a big, dumb action movie. There are plot holes big enough to fly a 747 through. don't worry about that. Just go and enjoy a great, fun action movie at the cinema. Fabelmans, I think, will be around for a little while longer because it's up for Oscars, so they'll probably want to keep that one at the cinema as long as they can. I think the Oscars are in February or so. I've kind of lost track, don't really follow the Oscars anymore. But they're on in, I think, early February. So Fabelmans will be around for a little while longer. Plane will probably not. I think it'll be a 1 week in, 1 week out kind of deal because there's a couple of big movies coming out soon. You've got Puss in Boots, The Last Wish, which is out this week. Knock at the Cabin Door is out this week as well. And then of course you've got Ant-Man coming up and stuff like that, so I don't think Plane's going to stick around very long, but I do recommend you go and see it. If you like your action movies, if you want a good action movie, good fun action movie that will keep you on the edge of your seat, go and see Plane at the cinema as soon as you can this week. Like I say, Fabelmans will be around for a little while longer, but don't leave it too long. Really go and enjoy that film at the cinema too. Both movies deserve to be seen at the cinema. Actually, what was nice about the Fabelmans is that Steven Spielberg came on beforehand and he gave a little speech thanking everybody for actually seeing the movie in the cinema rather than waiting for it to be at home. I thought it was lovely. It's really nice to have Steven up there, obviously showing his great love of filmmaking, coming on the screen at the beginning and saying thank you for coming to this cinema, sitting down and watching the movie at the cinema, so that was nice. Anyway, enough rambling. Thank you very much for watching this once again. You know what to do. There's a thumbs up button. It doesn't cost you anything. Click it and walk away. You don't even have to remember that you've done it. If you can click the thumbs up button, it just helps me out a great deal. It encourages me to do more of these videos if you're enjoying them. So if you can just click that little thumb logo down below, that'd be great. Appreciate it. Please subscribe to the channel. I appreciate that too. Basically, there's loads of videos on this channel. I've said it before. Go and have a wander through, see what else we've got. If movie reviews aren't your thing, although you've watched this one, so thank you for that. We got some dinosaur stuff, we got some collectible stuff, we got some other stuff, and there's more stuff coming up in the future which I've got plans for, so of course I can only do that if you guys continue to watch these videos and continue to like these videos, so please subscribe. And please come and have a chat with me down in the comments, whether it be about the movie reviews, whether it be about the dinosaurs or collectibles or anything else. Love to chat to people about all those things. It's really good, you know, and I love engaging with you guys. Thank you so much to everybody who's liked the videos so far. Thank you so much to everybody who's subscribed so far, and to obviously everybody who's come and had a chat so far down in the comments or made a comment saying that they've enjoyed the videos. I appreciate all of you for doing that. So I will see you next time. Until then, take care and I'll see you soon.